What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the PewterCast. Now, I know I said I didn't know when or if I'd be doing another one of these things, but frankly, the response last week was just so amazing. I had a few minutes here before heading off to bed, so I thought I'd come in and throw some stuff out here, get some stuff down on tape, and put this out there. I'd like to say hello to the folks of you out there joining me here in the live stream. I am live on YouTube for anybody out there who wants to come over. You guys make sure you subscribe over there, youtube.com/thepewtercast, and make sure you hit that bell icon because you never know when one of these are going to come out. There is no schedule for this, folks. There is no schedule. All right. Earlier today, the Bucs went into the Superdome and they put one over on the Saints, winning 26-9. And now there's a lot of talk out there, especially heading into the bye week, about the Bucs, and hello, Bucs Rays Bolts and Richard hanging out over there. You guys are commenting. Guys, make sure if you're listening live, comment, and we'll give you a little shout out here. There's a lot of talk this week as the Bucs are now heading into the bye week. Early bye week. I hate early bye weeks. I prefer them later in the season. But they are where they are. We got to deal with it. I will say this though. Bye weeks are always better coming off of a win. You don't have to sit around with that awful taste in your mouth for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Let's hear what's up, Adam. What's up, Woo Bucks? Yeah, thanks guys so much. You guys are amazing. Listen, I'll tell you this. Here over the next 2 weeks, there's going to be a lot of podcasts, a lot of YouTube channels, a lot of websites talking all about this game. And I encourage you guys to go out and listen to them and engage with them. The ones that immediately come to mind are friends over at Loose Cannons, Cannon Fire Podcast, Real Bucks Talk, the big guns over at Pewter Report and the other media outlets. Listen, whatever your flavor is, there's a flavor for you guys. Make sure you check them out as they'll go into the nitty gritty. I'm not necessarily going to be doing that here today, but I did want to, recap these last 2 weeks with where we've been. Obviously, we had the Eagles game, a loss on Monday night last week, and then this game here against the Saints today. And I'm probably going to make some folks mad. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. Listen, here's the thing. I think these last 2 weeks particularly show us that the Bucs are exactly who we thought they would be. And I think most Bucs fans out there, although there might have been some hype around some of these young players, I think if we really were honest with ourselves about where we thought the Bucs were going to be this year and how the Bucs were going to perform this year, this is about it. This is about where we thought they'd be. They're going to be a really good middle of the pack team that are going to hold their own and do some good to great stuff against other middle of the road teams in the NFL. But they're probably not going to be able to hold up against the teams that we would consider the actual Super Bowl contenders, the Eagles being one of them. It's almost like they're just in a different sort of class, and that's okay. That's kind of how the football world works. I think that's why we were all so a little chuffed when people kept throwing the Bucs way down into the 20s when they're ranking the league. No, that's not quite where we are. I think we kind of sit in that 10 to 18-ish range if you have to rank the teams across the league. Richard over in the chat, who's joining us live. What's up, Richard? Says he always thought the Bucs team will be one of the better middle teams, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. That is 1,000% really with what I'm at. Now, most of that I think has to do with the strength of the roster. I think this roster is actually very strong for being in a year where we have no money. and I gotta say, I was really impressed with these young wide receivers, especially Tompkins. I mean, Devin Tompkins, where the heck did this guy come from with the returning the punts, the flying touchdown grab that he had, and he's tiny too. Oh my gosh, he's just a little short guy going out there. And honestly, he's probably about as tall as I am, and I'm 6'4". He's just probably looks smaller compared to all the rest of those guys. I don't know. But I've been really impressed with these guys. Trey Palmer, obviously a guy who he was sort of the preseason darling this year, and he's stepping in there. Kate Otten has come up quite a bit. So that's been fun. I got to tell you, I'm a big believer in Dave Canales, our new offensive coordinator. My friend Corey, you guys know him over at the Play Reaction. He recorded a thing all about Dave Canales. You guys should definitely go listen to that on his Substack. Fantastic listen over there about why we should believe in Dave Canales. And I think that's just so good. I like what he's doing with the offense. My God, that play where he had Baker just sort of toss it off to Chris Godwin, and Chris Godwin thunders over and he throws it deep downfield. First of all, who knew Chris Godwin could throw like that? But second of all, yeah, that pass may have fallen incomplete, but those are the kinds of fun plays that we expect to see, or that I would like to see coming from this offense, stuff that we honestly would never come out of Byron or Dirk Cutter or oh my gosh, to go back to any of those folks. What's up, Timothy? Let's hear Yaya Diaby. I was impressed with Yaya Diaby. He might be my favorite player from this draft class. And no offense to any of the other folks, I just really like watching him. Antoine Winfield Jr. gets the MVP for the game today. Holy cow, what a guy. And he probably got the MVP for at least one other game so far this season. My favorite player, look, he's right over here. My favorite player on the Bucs right now. Probably the greatest moment in Buccaneers history, at least modern Buccaneers history, was this moment right here to me. And I'm not going to talk about Tyreek Hill or anything he just said this past week. Richard says, at least it wasn't Lenny throwing a pass and getting intercepted. Right. Let's say who else? Oh, Vita Vea. Got to shout out Vita Vea. Man's playing with I think it's a torn pectoral muscle was his injury. He goes in and gets 2 sacks. Like, awesome. And D freaking Delaney intercepting the one and only throw from Jameis Winston and what was supposed to be a revenge game from him. Oh man. Oh, listen. That said, I think there's a lot of young, fresh talent on this roster, anchored by some marquee veterans that I hope are going to make me eat these words that I'm about to say. I think what the Bucs have shown is that they can and will and are in it to win this division this year. That making the playoffs for them is a very real thing. And that it's not just some pipe dream. Like, come on, the Bucs aren't really good. No. They really have this as a potential on the table to be able to do. That being said, I don't think we're going to see them go very deep into the playoffs this year. I would not be shocked if they made the playoffs. I just don't think they're going to go very far into the playoffs this year. But you know what? The truth is, if that happens, if I'm right, if they make the playoffs, but they don't go very far in, even if they get bounced in that first week, the second week, whatever, that is going to still be more than what most people expected out of the Bucs this year. I mean, it's going to mean a 4th straight playoff appearance, because I don't think anyone from the NFC-South is getting in on a wild card spot. It's likely going to mean a 3rd straight playoff division, again, because that's the only way we're really getting in. It's going to secure Todd Bowles' job as head coach for at least another year. And like I said, I hope they make me eat those words and that they do go deep into the playoffs and that it doesn't even stop until February. I just think that the reality of where we are this year is we're going to have games like this, the one today against the Saints, but then we're also going to have these games like the ones we had against the Eagles, which I got to be honest, I didn't do a show last week, but I wasn't mad coming out of that game. I mean, I hated it as a fan. Of course I did. You never want to see your team lose, but I wasn't really mad about anything last week. You know what I really felt bad for? I felt bad for my friends of you guys that were out there, that were at the stadium, and you're taking videos, posting of they're out there playing country road as if we've just won the game. And okay, listen, Buccaneers people, please, the organization, could you please cut it out with the country road? Look, I know that it was this cute thing that happened over in Germany when the whole stadium stayed behind and started singing it all at once, and that was a fun, good feeling. Listen, it doesn't mean you have to come here and play it every single week here. Well, I like country road just as much as the next man. It is not a staple of a Bucs game day experience. Okay, so let's just cut it out. And also, don't be so tone deaf. Have options on your game day script that you can go to depending on what's happening on the field. Okay, read the room a little bit, Bucks. That's all I'm saying. Read the room to the Bucks organization out there. Timothy says he's still hoping for a Super Bowl like every year. Yeah, me too. Me too. Richard said Dave Canales got knocked down last week and got back up and dusted himself off. Yeah, listen, I don't know that Dave Canales necessarily had the best game plan or called the best game, but also I don't know that the players executed the things he did call very well. And I don't know that, honestly, the Eagles just didn't make really good plays because they're just a really good team, you know? Anyway, moving on. Let's talk just for a moment, we'll get out of here, about what is taking the crown this week for perhaps the stupidest thing that people got all up in arms about. The stupidest headline to hit Bucks news, the Bucks news outlets this past week. The Bucks and the Saints aren't rivals. What? It's the Falcons that are really the Saints rivals. Cam Jordan out there talking. Oh my word. Give me a break. This has to be the dumbest thing. Usually I see this argument coming from some too big hat Saints fan who just wants to give off this air as if they really don't care about winning games against Tampa or Carolina for that matter. And it's like always right about the time that they realize when they're in a conversation with a Bucs fan and they're losing that conversation. They go, you guys aren't really our rivals anyway. It's really Atlanta. And they have like nothing else to pound their chest about. So that's the script that they go to, almost as if like the team sends out a script in the offseason that says, okay, listen, when you're talking to other fans and things aren't going well, you can go to these two things. And so you turn to Tampa and says, okay, here are the two things you can say for Tampa. One, just tell them that their last Super Bowl ring was an asterisk. That'll really get under their skin. And two, just tell them they're not really our rivals. Like, really? Okay. First of all, no championship has an asterisk by it. Like all teams, the Bucs were playing under the same circumstances that everyone was all year long. A championship is a championship is a championship. It's such a dumb argument. Stop it. Like it's a weak sauce argument. But then the second one, that you're not really our rivals. Like we don't really care about you. But guess what? We're just going to keep talking about it so that you know how much we don't care about you. It's just, listen, like I said, this is just an argument people dump on when they don't have anything to beat their chest about. And that's all it is. And Cam Jordan proved that tonight. He went out and had almost zero effect on the game. In fact, the only time that I even remember noting his presence was in that one play where Cam Jordan had Baker down with a QB hit. It wasn't even a sack. It was just a QB hit. And Baker winds up getting bent sideways off that dirty hit by the other Saints player who came in. Just dirty guys, man. That was really it. Like, that's the only effect Cam Jordan had on this game at all, outside of his mouth running before the game ever happened, to the media this week, and everybody picked it up and ran with it. Oh, look, here's the deal. I don't care what word you use to describe the Bucs Saints relationship. Call it a rivalry. You want to just say they're division opponents. Call them children playing in the play yard. I don't care what you call it. The fact is this. Over the last 3 years, the Bucs have won 4 out of the last 6 meetings, And 3 of those 4 have been the last 3 games in a row. Now, overall, the Bucs are still behind the Saints in the overall series by a factor of 39-25. They've won 39. The Bucs have won 20. Have only won 25. That's over 64 games so far. I believe that is since the merger back in 2002, or the realignment since back in like 2002. No, that's got to be back further than that, doesn't it? Anyway, whatever. I know the number is 64 as the total number of games, and it's 39 Saints, Bucs 25. So listen, Bucs fans, our beloved Buccaneers still have some more work to do if they want to close that overall gap. But here's what we know. When it counted the most in the playoff game on the way to a Super Bowl victory, that's when the Bucs emerged victorious. And let's just leave it at that. Hey, so listen, what did you guys think about the game this week? How are you feeling going into the bye week? You can let me know by hitting me up on Twitter at the PewterCast, or heck, if you want to use more than 280 characters, you're not paying Elon $8 a month, shoot me an email to the PewterCast@gmail.com. Let me check in the chat over here before we get out of here. Richard says that 3 straight wins. Guess it can't be a rivalry if you're losing. That's funny. Timothy says, hopefully Mike will be back soon. Yeah, I think Mike will be. You know, he always gets these little bugaboos, little hamstrings. This would get worked out this week, and then he'll be back. Honestly, I'm kind of glad that Mike stepped out. I love watching Mike go up against Marshawn Lattimore, but I hate watching what it does to Mike. And let's just pull Mike out of that whole situation. Mike still got 40 yards on the game. He's down to, he needs 51 yards a game for the rest of the season, just 51 for the rest of the season, and he's got his 1,000 yards. Woobuck says the Bucs aren't getting the respect that they deserve. No, but I think they're going to start getting that. Let's hear Teardrop Timothy says it was such a great moment when the Bucs won the Super Bowl, real boyhood dream come true. Timothy, I don't know if you were around for the first Super Bowl win back in 2002, actually 2003, I guess it technically was. But gosh, I remember every bit about that particular win. I remember the chair I was sitting in, the texture of it. You just never forget those moments. Never forget those moments. Adam says when you watch that game, there's obvious tension, to say the least, between the teams. It is a damn rivalry. Yeah, Adam's right. There is definitely a tension. There's definitely a tension between the Bucs and the Saints that, frankly, I don't feel when we play the Falcons, and I don't feel when we play the Carolina Panthers. And that is a tension that exists both ways. That's not just a one-way tension. Anyway, all right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I'm going to get out of here. Let me know what you guys think. Hit me at the PewterCast on Twitter, or email to the PewterCast@gmail.com. So, guys, with that, make sure you like, subscribe, share the video on YouTube, or if you're over at the podcast, leave a rating and review, and stay subscribed right here to PewterCast, because you never know when one of these are coming back, because I'm not committing to any schedule. They'll just come out as they come out. Thanks, guys, so much. We'll talk to you guys next time. And until then, go Bucs.